Hey, Stan Horchak here for PopPhoto.com, and right now I'm standing on Park Avenue in New York City with Canon's new 8 to 15mm f4L fisheye zoom lens. And we've been getting a lot of questions about this lens because it's pretty unique, and I think people are having a hard time picturing exactly what it's going to look like when they stick it on their body. So I think the best solution is to do a little video demonstration. What we're going to do is throw this on both a full frame body and a crop body, and then go through the zoom range so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's on your camera. Just for a little bit of reference, right now you're looking at me on a Canon 5D Mark II with a 24mm f1.4L prime lens. It's a little wide for a video, but it's about to get a whole lot wider when we stick the fisheye on. Okay, so here I am at 15mm on the 5D Mark II. This is pretty wide, but it shouldn't look crazy to you, especially if you're used to something like the 16 to 35L or even the 17 to 40L. But as we start zooming out, you'll see a lot more of the fisheye effect start to come into play. And as we keep zooming, we're eventually going to lose the corners off the image. Now this happens because the image circle is no longer big enough to cover the whole sensor. So eventually we're going to get to the point where I'm going to be standing here inside of a tiny circle. You'll probably actually even be able to see the front tripod leg in the frame. Some people think this looks really cool, some people don't like it, but it's undeniably interesting. But what happens when we put this lens onto a crop body like the 7D? Let's find out now. Okay, so here we are at 15mm on the 7D. Now even if you don't have a wide-angle lens, this should look pretty familiar to you, mainly because the 1.6x crop factor on the 7D makes this look a lot like the 24mm lens we started off on. Now as we start zooming out, you're going to notice that a lot of the same fisheye stuff starts to come in at the edges. Now we're going to keep zooming all the way, and this time we're not going to get all the way to a complete circle. That's because the sensor inside the 7D is smaller. So while some people like the circular image that you get on a full-frame body, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find anybody who likes whatever this is. So how did Canon fix this? Well, what they did is they just put a switch on the side of the lens barrel that stops the zoom ring from turning, so you can't go far enough to crop the corners off. We'll do a little demo of that now. Okay, so here I am one more time at 15mm on the 7D. Now if we start to zoom out, you'll still see all the fisheye stuff come in at the edges, but eventually we're going to hit a hard stop in the zoom ring. That's going to be at about 10mm, and what it's going to do is it's going to prevent us from going any further and cropping off any parts of the image. Now if you have a 1D Mark IV, that has an APS-H sensor inside of it, which is bigger than the 7Ds. That means you're going to have to stop even earlier at 12mm if you don't want to lose your corners. So hopefully this has given you a little bit better of an idea of what this lens will look like if you stick it on your own camera. But if you want more information about the lens, feel free to check out our sample image gallery right here at PopPhoto.com.